Have you ever been obsessed with a woman you barely knew? You told yourself it was just attraction, but if it was just only about sex, why did her silence feel like rejection? Why did her absence feel like something sacred had been taken from you? Carl Jung believed every man harbors a woman deep within his soul. He called her the Anima, and he warned, if you ignore her, she doesn't disappear, she takes over. You fall in love too fast, you spiral when she pulls away. But what you're really drawn to isn't her. You don't want her. You want the missing piece of your psyche she pulled to the surface. The following are 6 signs your anima is distorting the way you see women. Sign number 1. You idolize women you barely know. Has your mind ever built a story around someone you barely exchanged 10 words with? You see her for 5 seconds, and suddenly she's unforgettable. She's not just beautiful, she's different, perfect almost. You start imagining her smiling at you. You make assumptions about who she is and how she thinks. But here's the truth. You're not falling for her. You're falling into your own drawn-up dream of her. This is what Jung called projection. When the anima steps in and paints all of the attributes your soul lacks and longs for onto a woman who may or may not even possess them at all. You haven't found a connection. You created a goddess, an imaginary woman built from all the pieces of you that you're still trying to find. The sensitivity that you've buried, the mystery you long for, the aliveness you're afraid to claim. She becomes the screen where all of these play out. And the more unknown she is, the easier it is to keep projecting. Because real women have moods, limits, edges. But the anima? She's flawless. Because she's a fantasy. That is why the attraction feels so intense. You are not just drawn to her, you are drawn to your own conjured-up image of all the alluring qualities of femininity you personally believe a woman should aspire to be. And admiration quietly turns into dependency. You start hinging your happiness on a glance, a chance she might see you. And you convince yourself, if I could just be with her, I wouldn't need anything else. But it's not love you're chasing, it's reunion. In other words, my friends, you are not longing for a woman. You are looking for your missing self in a woman. So when it happens again, when you start putting her on that pedestal, when she feels too radiant, too sacred, too perfect, pause. She's not your salvation. She's become a symbol. Ask yourself, what qualities am I projecting onto her that I've forgotten how to honor in myself? Then practice reclaiming just one of them alone. Don't chase her. Chase what she awakened within you. Maybe it's beauty. So find beauty in your life. In nature, in art. Maybe it's vulnerability even. Whatever it is, bring it home. Begin weaving it quietly back into your life. That is your map. Sign number 2. Your mood depends on her attention. Has your peace ever hinged on a text message? One message from her, and suddenly the fog lifts. You're alive again. Wanted. But then the silence returns, and in that hour of nothing, you unravel. This is emotional dependency, not because of who she is, but because of what she represents to your unconscious. Jung warned that when the anima goes unintegrated, she doesn't disappear. She externalizes. She hijacks your emotional system and wires it to the presence or absence of someone else. So you don't chase women as people. You chase them as emotional regulators, as medicine, as mood stabilizers. You're not falling for her. You're falling into a chemical cycle. Dopamine and withdrawal, euphoria and collapse. And soon, you're no longer centered in yourself. Your identity becomes something she has the power to validate or shatter. But the truth is, she's not doing anything. You handed her the remote. Be honest. Have you ever checked your phone 50 times in an hour just to see if she replied? And when she finally does, that wave of relief hits you like a drug. This isn't love. This is emotional possession, and it only gets messier when the fantasy begins to crack. This is the sign. Your self-worth has become dependent on a woman's attention. This is the invitation. Before you reach for her, check in with yourself. What feeling are you actually chasing? Is it reassurance, affection, proof that you exist in someone's world? This is where to start. Sit with that craving before you send the message. Name the feeling. Then ask yourself, how can I begin? How can I begin giving that back to myself first? Because the goal is not to silence your longing, it's to unhook it, so that no one else can puppeteer your peace. Sign 3. You're addicted to the chase. The third sign is the embodiment of a strange contradiction. You crave the chase but cannot handle the closeness. You are filled with longing until she likes you back. And then, suddenly, the magic is gone. You start questioning everything. You feel bored, smothered, or even irritated. This has nothing to do with her. Jung explained that the anima, when projected, thrives on distance. She must remain a symbol, a dream. The second she becomes real, with flaws, moods, contradictions, the image collapses. You weren't drawn to her. You were drawn to the feelings she gave you. The hunger, the ache, the thrill of the impossible. You mistake that electric tension for love, but it's not love. It's the drama of your unconscious playing itself out on someone else's face. And when she becomes available, she stops being the symbol. The fantasy fades, and so does your desire. This is what Jung called the inflation of the psyche, when your soul confuses symbolic energy for real intimacy. You believed that wanting her meant you were ready, but wanting is easy. Staying is not. Because real love asks something from you, not projection, presence. And until you learn to hold a woman as she is, without needing her to carry your unlived emotions, you will keep chasing ghosts. Beautiful, intense, emotionally charged ghosts, but ghosts all the same. Your attraction dies when you finally see her, the real woman behind the fantasy. So instead of asking, why did the spark fade? Ask, what was I hoping she would complete in me? Notice when you feel deflated after closeness. Name the version of her you were addicted to. Then ask yourself, can I begin holding those qualities within myself without her having to perform them? That's when you stop chasing symbols and start building something real. Sign number 4. You romanticize suffering and tragedy. There's a moment when pain stops being something you feel and starts becoming something you return to again and again, like a ritual. You don't just revisit heartbreak, you relive it. You replay the messages. You read the unsent letters. You sit in sadness the way some sit in prayer. It starts to feel sacred even, because when the anima is ignored, she doesn't disappear. She transforms. She becomes the siren of emotional excess. She lures you into the private theater where you play both the wounded audience and the suffering star. You stop identifying with healing and start identifying with the wound. You become the misunderstood poet, the haunted ex, the broken heart that never quite stops bleeding. And a part of you likes it, because it feels meaningful, it feels alive. But this isn't depth. It's familiar pain dressed up as insight. You're not grieving, you're hiding. You stay in pain not because you must, but because it's the only language your soul was taught to speak. And the anima whispers, this heartbreak proves how deep you are. But often, it's just proof that you're still stuck. So be honest. Do you secretly love sadness? That playlist you keep going back to? Those journal pages soaked in nostalgia? That version of you that aches just enough to feel interesting? Do you want to stay broken so you never have to risk what might come after healing? Because real depth begins when you ask, is this feeling teaching me something? Or am I just reenacting it again? Don't abandon sadness, but stop worshiping it. Let grief be a guest, not the author, and begin listening for what comes after the ache. Healing isn't silence. It's learning to feel without getting swallowed whole. Sign number 5. You see women as goddesses or monsters. Another clear sign of anima possession is how you view women in extremes. You either place them on pedestals or tear them down. She is either perfect or toxic. She either saves you or destroys you. There is no middle. Jung saw this as the classic Madonna whore complex, a psychological split that emerges when a man has not come to terms with his own inner feminine. He cannot hold contradiction within himself, so he splits it across the women he encounters. One moment she's divine, graceful, radiant, a source of light in your life, and the next, she's cold, dismissive, manipulative, the very thing you fear. This is what happens when the anima remains unintegrated. You don't see her as a person. You see her as a screen, a mirror for your contradictions. And since you haven't learned to hold these contradictions within yourself, you split them across the women you meet. She becomes either your salvation or your downfall, your angel or your festering wound. But the truth is, she's neither. She's just a person, and the intensity of your response has less to do with who she is and everything to do with what you've disowned in yourself. With the Madonna whore complex, a man is unable to see a woman in her full humanity because he hasn't yet seen his own. Until you begin integrating the anima, you won't see clearly. You'll see longing. You'll see fear. You'll see every suppressed emotion and every unmet need projected onto her. You will fall in love with the illusion, not the individual. And when she can no longer live up to the fantasy, you will feel betrayed, deceived, even attacked. But she didn't change. Your illusion did. And when the illusion collapses, so does your peace. That's the cost of projection. Not just failed relationships, but a fractured self. Because if you keep outsourcing your emotional world to women, you lose access to your own depth. You become volatile, hyper-reactive, chained to every shift in their mood, because you've never learned to hold your own. So ask yourself, which is she today? Your dream girl or your worst mistake? If the answer changes overnight, that's not clarity. That's your inner world collapsing and mistaking it for who she is. The more nuance you can hold in yourself, the more clearly you'll begin to see her. And maybe for the first time, see her as she is, not as the symbol your soul demanded her to be. Sign number 6. You feel everything, but understood nothing. This is maybe the most haunting sign of all. You feel everything, but you understood none of it. You get overwhelmed easily. You lash out, you shut down, you spiral. Your reactions feel too big for the moment, and afterward, you can't explain any of it. Jung believed the anima is the psychic bridge to emotion. It helps you name, hold, and process what you feel. But when she's ignored, those emotions don't disappear, they just take over. You don't become less emotional. You become possessed by what you can't even name. You act out feelings you have no language for. You become moody, dramatic, unstable. And here's the cruel twist. You start to resemble the very emotional intensity that you judge in others. You repress the feminine in yourself, then resent women for showing it to you. But the storm isn't coming from them. It's rising from within you. The unacknowledged anima doesn't stay quiet. She erupts through chaos, not to destroy you, but to wake you up. And the more you reject her, the louder she becomes. She's not asking for control. She's asking to be known. If your emotions feel unpredictable, if you keep getting flooded and can't explain why, this isn't weakness. It's a sign that your soul is trying to speak a language you never learned how to listen to. So next time you feel the wave coming on, pause. Instead of reacting, ask, what am I actually feeling right now? Beneath the anger, beneath the sadness. What wants to be heard in me that I keep pushing away? Because the man who refuses this work stays stuck, pulled by fantasies, trapped in projection, ruled by moods he cannot manage. But the man who turns inward, he begins to change. He becomes grounded, literate in his own emotional world, clear-eyed and present. He no longer needs a woman to feel for him. He has already met her within himself. And because of that, he moves through the world whole, aware, and impossible to forget.